So, I have been doing a lot of deconstructing lately, and this has been really the year of the snake in terms of complete transformation and figuring out actually like what the fuck is going on with my specific cocktail of world experience and who I am and what I'm going through and why I look at things differently than a lot of people. And there are a lot of surprising ways that you'll find out, especially nowadays with everything we know and what we're learning about neurodivergence and, in my specific instance, the cult experience. Which even it still sounds weird saying that because when you think of the word cult, you think of something huge and clearly culty. But when you were born into it, it's really easy to not see all the ways it's not normal because it is normal for you. It's the only thing you grew up knowing. Also, I'm on a ton of coffee right now, so I'm a little more spiky here than otherwise. But I've said before that I grew up in a single-family cult. That has very much influenced just the way that I look at the world being completely different. I don't know a lot of things that other people know. I wasn't raised in the zeitgeist of my peers. I didn't have peers. My peers were my brothers and my parents. And old people that my parents would allow us to interact with. Also, realizing that I am very ADHD and also a good mix of autism in that cocktail. So it's an ADHD experience coupled with the cult baby experience. And also I'm non-binary. So I just look at everything through a very centered lens of raised in a very patriarchal, very misogynistic background because of the cult, and trying to deprogram from that as well as just the overall cult thinking. And so I see things from the shitty male perspective a lot, more than I would like to. And there are a lot of puzzles that I haven't really gotten to the bottom of yet in understanding how my view is different from like femme presenting identifies as women. And there's things that I take for granted, like specifically, I work in a bar, and I was instructed, namely by a man, that when you open a bottle of champagne correctly, it should sound like a beautiful woman exhaling after an orgasm. And the inference there is that it should sound like, quote unquote, and when I told this to my female coworkers, who identify as female, they identify as women, femme-presenting women, it immediately became apparent to me how, I don't know if misogynistic is the correct term, but it's the assumption that a beautiful woman is beautiful sounding, beautiful presenting, beautiful in her very docile, gentle, feminine nature, and that a moment of ecstasy would be very pretty appearing. And it became very apparent to me that that is a very male worldview to take on that subject. And so when I said this to my female coworkers, they're like, no, the sound that made wasn't an orgasm, it was a queef. And that is a very stark perspective difference between the person who would be namely experiencing this and the person who would be observing that experience, namely the actual female perspective and the male perspective. These are things that I'm like trying to like figure out. And it's hard enough to do that when you are trying to figure out the gender dynamics of everything and the patriarchal structure and the misogyny of everything under our American patriarchal society, but also through the lens of being ADHD and autistic and not necessarily understanding that from a neurotypical perspective, and also being a cult baby survivor and having been completely immersed in that and it just being wired into the way that you have learned to think for so much of your life, and now trying to deconstruct from that and be objective and centered, actually centered in your views and opinions and the things that come out of your mouth when you are in the world. And it's a lot. It's a lot.